Imagine getting reincarnated into a romance novel, not as the heroine, not as the villain, not even as an important side character, just an ordinary office worker. Her only goal is to survive, avoid overtime, and live a peaceful life. But one small act of kindness toward a mysterious stranger changes everything. Now, without realizing it, she's caught the attention of the most dangerous man in the empire, and her quiet life is about to spiral completely out of control. Here's what happened. In the beginning of the manhwa, the narration tells us that just because someone is reincarnated into a novel doesn't mean they automatically become the protagonist. Some become legendary heroes after enduring countless hardships. Some villains seize power with their own hands. But there are also extras, people who become neither heroes nor villains and simply live as ordinary citizens. And honestly, that's not such a bad thing. A stable job, a small but cozy house, a loving family, and friends you can always be honest with. Now we meet our female protagonist, Rina. Rina is sharing an intimate moment with her boyfriend. He tells her to wait for a moment, but in her mind, she can't stop thinking about how cute and handsome he is. She feels like she could cherish him forever. Confused, Rina asks why he keeps telling her to wait. They've only held hands this whole time. Is he really planning to wait until their wedding for their first kiss? Hearing her question, the man admits that isn't the issue. There's something he hasn't told her yet. Rina gently reassures him that it's okay. No matter what it is, he can tell her later. Instead, she reaches out, pulls him closer, and tells him to give himself to her. Unable to resist any longer, the man wraps his arms around Rina and pulls her close. He gently lifts her into his arms, making her feel as though she's melting. Carefully placing her on the bed, he promises to give her everything. And just like that, their relationship takes a major step forward that night. Although Rina never intended for things to progress so quickly, she wonders if it even matters. She was just an ordinary woman with nothing particularly special about her besides having a handsome boyfriend. Even so, her life was peaceful, ordinary, and safe. To her, that was the most satisfying life she could ever ask for. She truly believed that. But then, someone suddenly shouts, "Where are you going, Rina? Are you planning to seduce the emperor and run away?" That single moment completely changes Rina's life. Now we finally see how everything actually began. Inside the Regency Empire's imperial palace, specifically the Treasury Department, countless officials are busy with their work. Suddenly, someone angrily calls out to Carolina Diaz. "Miss Carolina Diaz, are you seriously joking around with me right now?" This was the daily chaos of Rina's life. Rina is immediately called over by the head of the department. "Take a look at the documents you submitted yesterday." He throws the paperwork onto her desk. The tax records from the Allborn territory are completely missing. His Majesty's triumphal ceremony is less than a week away. Before the official affairs begin, every department must submit its reports. "Are you trying to drag the Treasury Department's name through the mud?" Rina immediately apologizes. She explains that she never intended to cause any problems and promises to reorganize everything before resubmitting the report later that day. However, the department head shows no patience at all. Before leaving, he coldly orders her to finish fixing everything before lunch. Without saying another word, Rina quietly returns to her desk. A coworker notices what happened and asks if she's all right. This coworker is Rina's close friend and fellow Treasury Department employee, Connie. Connie angrily points out that the department head was the one who deliberately told Rina to leave those documents out in the first place. She saw it herself, so she doesn't understand why he's blaming Rina now. Trying to cheer her up, Connie suggests they go to a pub after work. Rina smiles and happily agrees. Deep down, though, Rina isn't nearly as upset as everyone expects. Compared to her previous life, this is nothing. Back then, dealing with impossible workloads, abusive bosses, workplace harassment, and malicious complaints had become completely normal. Compared to all of that, this situation barely bothered her. Not long ago, Rina had recovered the memories of her previous life. She had once been an ordinary civil servant who literally worked herself to death before being reincarnated as Carolina Diaz, a completely insignificant side character in this novel. She was nothing more than an extra. Her name was never even mentioned in the original story. Even now, she was still just a low-ranking employee working in the Imperial Palace. Surprisingly, she liked this life much more. At least it was peaceful and stable, and she wasn't forced to work overtime every single day. The original novel was a romance between a tyrannical, war-crazed emperor and a bright, saint-like heroine. After dying, the heroine received a divine blessing and was reincarnated into a second life. She met the male lead, entered a contract relationship with him, eventually fell in love for real and finally found happiness. It was a classic romantic fantasy. But from the perspective of an extra like Rina, romance wasn't important. Simply surviving each day mattered far more. If there was one thing she wished for in this new life, it was simple. She wanted to work normally, retire safely, and enjoy a peaceful old age with enough retirement savings. Of course, she wasn't completely uninterested in dating. But there were no opportunities and no suitable people around her. As long as she didn't die from overwork again like in her previous life, she already considered herself lucky. By the end of the day, Connie apologizes. They're officially stuck working overtime again. Their unreasonable department head has dumped even more work on them. There's no way she'll finish everything before morning. At this rate, she'll probably have to stay up all night. Connie tells Rina to head home without her. Now unexpectedly free, Rina decides to take a relaxing walk through the park, look at some stray cats, and buy dinner on the way home. While passing a flower shop, she notices a rare bouquet of freesias. These flowers are difficult to find during this season. Thinking they'd look beautiful by her window, she decides to buy them. Inside the shop, she asks for the freesias. The shopkeeper is pleasantly surprised that Rina even knows the flowers by name. She explains that they were brought in from the northern part of the capital and that this is the very last batch available. Rina happily decides to take them. She imagines how beautiful they'll look sitting by her window when the sunlight shines through them. Just then, a tall and incredibly handsome man approaches the counter. He politely asks the shopkeeper if they still have any freesias available. Rina can't help staring at his breathtaking appearance. Before she realizes it, the man notices her. Sometimes, the greatest moments of chaos arrive without warning. And sometimes, they don't just disrupt your daily life. They completely change it. Rina stands there in silent amazement, unable to take her eyes off the unbelievably handsome stranger. Rina couldn't help thinking that the man looked like the sun itself. Noticing her staring, the man adjusted the scarf around his head, making sure his appearance was properly covered. Embarrassed, Rina quickly looked away. The man turned back to the shopkeeper and asked once more if there were any freesias left. The shopkeeper shook her head. "I'm sorry, but that was our last batch. The freesias are completely sold out." She then pointed toward Rina. The last bouquet was sold to this young lady. The man asked if any other flower shops nearby might have them. The shopkeeper explained that freesias were both rare and out of season, so it would be extremely difficult to find them anywhere else. Hearing this, Rina called out to him. "It seems like you need these flowers more than I do. If you're willing to accept them, you can have them instead." She explained that she wasn't buying them for any special reason and would be happy to give them to him. The man gratefully accepted her kindness. "Thank you very much. I'll be sure to repay your generosity someday." After saying that, he placed a heavy bag of coins on the counter and instructed the shopkeeper to charge him for every flower the young lady wanted to buy. Without waiting for a response, he quietly walked away. Rina tried to stop him, but he didn't even look back. When the shopkeeper opened the bag, she was stunned. It was filled with gold coins. Rina left the flower shop carrying an entire basket of flowers. Although she felt embarrassed accepting such an extravagant gift, she couldn't refuse after seeing how happy the shopkeeper looked. She definitely didn't need this many flowers. As she walked home, she couldn't help thinking about the mysterious man. He was certainly unique. It was the first time in her life she had ever seen someone so unbelievably handsome. His way of speaking was blunt and somewhat stiff. Perhaps he was a soldier who had only recently returned from war. At the same time, the way he casually handed out such an enormous amount of money to a complete stranger made him seem like someone from a noble family. Rina smiled to herself. She wondered if she'd ever get another chance to meet someone so stunning. Her daily routine consisted of nothing more than going back and forth between work and home. Having a small, heart-fluttering moment like this made her otherwise ordinary day feel special. As she continued walking, Rina suddenly spotted the same man again. She was shocked to run into him twice in a single day. He was standing outside the entrance to the park, holding the freesias along with a small teddy bear. Rina guessed that he was probably planning to visit the public cemetery inside the park. However, she knew the main entrance was currently closed due to construction. She hurried over and called out to him. Startled by the sudden approach, the man instinctively reacted. Thinking someone was attacking him, he grabbed Rina's arm before realizing who she was. Rina winced in pain. The man immediately asked, "Is there something you need from me? Is there a reason you came looking for me?" Rina quickly explained that she had only wanted to let him know the park's main entrance was closed because of the construction work. "If you're trying to enter the park, you'll need to use the gate on the opposite side. The park will be closing soon, so you should hurry." The man looked surprised. "You came all this way just to tell me that? I honestly had no idea. Thank you very much." Rina smiled politely. "It was nothing, really." She raised her hand to say goodbye. Only then did the man notice the bruise forming where he had grabbed her arm. "Please let me see your hand for a moment." Confused, Rina insisted she was perfectly fine. But the man gently replied, "Did you think I was the kind of person who would ignore someone after hurting them and simply walk away?" Rina fell silent. After examining her arm, he nodded. "It doesn't look like anything is broken or fractured. However, the swelling has already started. You'll probably have a large bruise for a day or two." He then told her that he would send word to the temple so she could receive proper treatment. "Go there tomorrow morning. Simply mention the name Rainier Rojas, and they'll take care of everything." With that, he quietly left. Watching him disappear, Rina finally realized the mysterious man's name was Rainier Rojas. She couldn't help thinking it was quite a unique and memorable name. Later that night, Rainier arrived at the cemetery. He gently placed the teddy bear and the bouquet of freesias in front of a grave before quietly paying his respects. As he was leaving, someone called out to him. "Your Majesty," the man asked, "have you finished taking care of everything you came here to do?" Rainier looked at him. "How did you know I was here?" The man answered without hesitation. "There was no way I wouldn't notice when your Majesty disappeared from your post. Besides, today marks the anniversary of her passing." He then continued, "Your Majesty, with all due respect, what you did today was reckless. The triumphal ceremony is only a few days away. What would have happened if something had gone wrong while you were walking around alone without a single guard?" Rainier calmly replied, "Nothing like that would ever happen to me." The man respectfully bowed his head. "I don't doubt your Majesty's strength in the slightest. Even so, please be more careful from now on." After a brief pause, he asked, "Nothing unusual happened while you were away, did it?" Rainier thought quietly for a moment. The only thing that came to mind was Rina. Her smiling face flashed through his thoughts. A faint smile appeared on his lips. Nothing happened. Meanwhile, Rina looked down at the bruise on her arm. "It's practically healed already," she thought. "I really don't need to visit the temple." A simple ointment that cost only 1 silver coin had already made it much better. Of course, the temple could have healed it instantly through divine power. However, the temple charged the same donation fee regardless of whether the injury was minor or severe. That amount was far beyond anything Rina could afford. Half of her yearly salary would disappear in an instant. She sighed. Does that man not understand how expensive the real world is? Then she smiled to herself. Well, with a face like that, maybe he really doesn't. Just then, someone suddenly shouted across the office. "Rina, this is urgent. When exactly are you planning to submit this? Do you want to write another apology letter?" Connie immediately apologized to the supervisor. The man simply replied, "Forget the apology. Just bring me the paperwork." And just like that, another exhausting day in Rina's life as an ordinary office worker began. As usual, Rina and Connie are buried under an impossible amount of paperwork. Connie sighs in frustration. "Sanjay has completely lost his mind. He expects me to organize 8 years' worth of tax records from 7 different territories in a single day. Why doesn't he just hold my funeral while he's at it?" Rina agrees that he's clearly in a terrible mood. Connie nods. "He's been unusually sensitive lately. He's normally not like this." Rina asks if it's because of His Majesty's upcoming triumphal ceremony. "Of course it is," Connie replies. "A while ago, he kept bragging that he had managed to build connections with the Duke of Camelot's faction. That's probably why he's so nervous now." Rina looks confused. "The Duke of Camelot?" Connie explains that the Duke is the head of the Western noble faction and the second most powerful person in the empire after the Emperor himself. Still puzzled, Rina asks, "What does that have to do with the triumphal ceremony?" Connie is shocked that Rina hasn't heard the rumors. The entire imperial palace is talking about it. As soon as His Majesty returns, they're saying he's going to purge the Duke of Camelot. And not just him. They say the Emperor plans to use this opportunity to eliminate all the nobles who spent the war enriching themselves. The wyverns who ruled while the dragon was away are finally going to pay the price. Rina silently thinks about the Emperor. At this point in the story, he is still the ruthless tyrant from the original novel. He seized the throne after purging the late Emperor and the royal family. Then he spent 8 years leading countless wars and staining the battlefield with blood. Before meeting the heroine, he was exactly the kind of ruler capable of carrying out such a purge. Rina's greatest concern isn't politics. She's worried that the conflict might spread to the Treasury Department and destroy the peaceful life she's worked so hard to build. She silently prays that everything will pass without affecting her. Meanwhile, Connie has only one wish. I just want the triumphal ceremony to arrive already. She sighs dramatically. Once it's over, maybe we'll finally escape all this overtime. Sometimes, she even finds herself tearing up just thinking about it. After working for quite a while, Rina finally finishes her assignments. She turns to Connie with a smile. I'm done. If you need help, I'd be happy to give you a hand. Connie's eyes immediately light up. She throws her arms around Rina. You're the only one I have. Even if I have no money, no future, and no title, I'll always choose my best friend. Rina laughs. Stop saying such depressing things. Let's just finish the rest of the work. Rina looks over the documents on Connie's desk. Wait. These records are from the Western Territory. Aren't you supposed to be in charge of the Eastern Territory? Connie lets out another frustrated sigh. I know. Sanjay dumped all of this on me without any explanation. Rina wonders if the work was divided that way on purpose. Connie nods. The official responsible for the Western Territory is Lord Andrew Nocton. Sanjay probably pushed all of his work onto me because he thinks I'm an easy target. This isn't the first time he's done something like this. Everyone in this department is working themselves to death because of him. Rina agrees that the person in charge should have handled these documents instead. Still, there isn't anything particularly difficult about the work itself. Together, the two of them finish everything. The next day finally arrives. It's the long-awaited weekend. Rina couldn't be happier. And she isn't the only one looking forward to it. The stray cats that Connie and Rina often visit are waiting as well. Rina smiles as she arrives at the park. After another exhausting week of work, spending time with the cats feels incredibly healing. She feeds each of them before sitting beside the fountain. Lately, she's been forced to work almost every weekend, so it's been a long time since she was able to relax like this. She still has errands to run and groceries to buy later. But for now, she's perfectly happy sitting there and watching the adorable cats play around her. Suddenly, a small black kitten jumps up and scratches someone nearby. Startled, Rina quickly runs over. To her surprise, the person the kitten attacked is none other than Rainier. The kitten immediately runs back toward Rina. Anyone watching would naturally assume she owned the cat. Rina quickly bows her head. I'm so sorry. It's a stray cat that lives here in the park. It's still young, so it doesn't know any better. She repeatedly apologizes for the scratch on his clothes. However, Rainier doesn't respond. Without saying a single word, he simply turns around and walks away. Rina stands there in confusion. Why did he ignore her? Why did he leave without saying anything at all? Rina was stunned. How could someone ignore another person so bluntly? It wasn't as if they were friends. But the way Rainier had treated her was simply too much. His expression made it seem as though he was annoyed by her, as if she were nothing more than a pest buzzing around him. Rina shook her head. She was probably overthinking it. There was no point dwelling on it now. She still had groceries to buy before heading home, and after today, she probably wouldn't run into him again anyway. But just then, she spotted Rainier once more. He was standing nearby, talking to another man. Without thinking, Rina quickly hid behind a tree. The moment she did, she realized how strange that looked. I didn't even do anything wrong, she thought. Hiding just makes me look suspicious. Embarrassed, she decided to leave the area with at least a little dignity and hurried away. However, Rainier noticed her before she disappeared. A little later, Rina stepped out of a bakery carrying several bags of fresh bread. She had gone on another impulse shopping spree. It was an unexpected expense, but she decided it was completely worth it. She planned to finish cleaning her house before enjoying a relaxing evening. Lost in her own thoughts, she suddenly ran into Rainier yet again. He looked at her with a slightly annoyed expression. "It seems we keep running into each other far too often," he said. "What business do you have with me?" This time, Rena completely ignored him. She didn't even bother replying. Instead, she made a slightly annoyed face and walked straight past him. In her mind, she thought, "So he wants to pretend he doesn't know me? Fine, I can play that game too." Rainier stood there speechless as she disappeared, and that's where we'll end part 1. At first, these meetings seemed like nothing more than coincidence. But are they really? Why does Rainier keep crossing paths with Rena? Why did he suddenly start suspecting her? And what will happen when he finally discovers that this ordinary office worker knows far more than she should? We'll find out in the next part. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2.